Okay, here's a little hair volume tutorial for you that I wanted to give you some techniques that I use to do this kind of thing. I got a stock image here, and what I want to do is I want to duplicate some of this, like this wave that has happening on the left side of her head, well, our left. And what I want to do is just go in and take a duplicate copy of the background, so Command or Control J to duplicate that, just in case something goes wrong. You can always get back to your defaults. I'm going to rasterize this layer, and I'm going to create a new empty layer on top of that. Now I'm going to go into my clone tool. Okay, it doesn't matter whether you have a soft or hard. In this case, obviously I've got a white background, so it's a little simpler, but it doesn't really matter. If your background's blown out, it'll behave fairly similarly, except for one of the techniques that I'm going to show you. So what I want to do is I want to duplicate that information. Okay, and then you can refine it using the eraser tool or the masking tool, whatever you want to do to get the information that you're looking for. Okay, so that's done. Now if I press the V key, and it looks obviously it's way off, but then if I bring it down here and I kind of merge it into her head, and I can rotate this and get it to look kind of how I want, like where I want it to look, and what kind of volumetrics it's going to add to her hair. Obviously I don't want to duplicate the exact same thing, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to use warp, and warp just allows me to kind of massage this geometry so I can bed it into her hair. I can pop this out a little bit more. Okay, and then obviously I don't want to create super strong flyaways, so let's go in here and create a little bulge there, and you can play with this as much as you want, and then say okay when you're done. Now that's finished, and what I want to do is I want to add a little mask to this. Any place where the hair runs into itself, I want to feather this mask out. Okay, I want to make it look a little more realistic. So, and you can see I kind of knocked it off there. I can go in, and what I would use is a relatively soft brush. So let's go 70-ish%, and then start knocking away so we can choose and blend this in so it looks kind of natural. So you see I added another wave to her hair that wasn't there originally. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to Command or Control E, select the hair duplicate layer, Command or Control E, and it kind of crushes it down into one object. So now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go into Clone, create a new layer, Alt or Option here, and I'm going to brush over this stuff and say I want to add a whole bunch of extra. Okay, now go V key or click on the Move tool and select the boundary and flip this horizontal, and I'm going to put this over here to add some volume to the, well, her left side, our right. Okay, now if you look at what it's doing, obviously the white background makes a blotch on her arm. I can either try to get rid of that by masking it or whatever. What I'm going to do is I'm going to utilize blend modes. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to convert this to multiply blend mode. And what you'll see is that it creates this kind of, it'll like burns it into her shirt. So that's easy to fix. All I have to do is add a mask. Okay. And use a brush and make the mask fairly hard, and then brush it away from her too hard. So let's Control Z, and knock it away from her shirt. Let's pull down here. And then I want to feather this brush a little bit more because I'm getting into her hair. And I want it to look a little more natural. There we go. Let's knock off. Let's harden it up again. So you see, just play with it to get what you want. And I can actually make it look like it's going behind her shoulder. So Command or Control 0. And then I added a huge volume of hair to the left side of her head, okay? And you can do the same thing. Go in here, click on the frame, right mouse button, and you can distort. Okay, but this time what I want to do is I want to separate the mask because I want to be able to tweak this. So we'll go in here and distort, and what it'll do is it'll keep the mask in place, so as I pull I can see the live feedback of what it's doing. So we'll grab this, that looks good, and go in and do some warping on this. I don't want to pull it too far away from her hair. Pull it down. Okay. So you can basically refine it and make it, so what I'm trying to do is make it not look like it's a duplicate of the same stuff that's on the right side of her head. Okay, so now select that upper layer, Command or Control E. Now you can use Liquify to do some of these things. What I want to do is I want to convert this to a smart filter. Convert for smart filters, which turns it into a smart object, and you can do that, or you can right mouse button on it and just do convert to smart object. So now that's done, and what I want to do is go in to filter Liquify. Okay, and the biggest thing with this is you need to use freeze mask. So let's freeze her face. So I'm going to freeze kind of like where her face would be, because I don't want to distort anything that looks like it would be human features, because it looks kind of funny if you stretch her glasses or stretch her even where her glasses would be. So you gotta pay attention to what this is doing. And then my suggestion is to go in, use this forward warp tool, and think. Usually I think about what I want to distort, and I want to make the brush twice as large as what I actually want to distort. So I'm actually going to freeze her hand here as well, because I don't want her hand warping and changing. Okay, so we'll grab her whole forearm. What the hell? Let's just grab her arm. Okay. Now go into the forward warp tool again with a really large brush, and then I just nudge it. Okay, and that's nudged very aggressively. Okay, but what I can do then is go in, let's unfreeze things so I can see what it looks like. So we'll use this thaw mask and just get rid of all of the freeze mask on the image. And then on the right hand side there's this reconstruct button, and what this allows you to do is to transition from the original at 0 to the final at 100. So I find that I often overdo my Liquify, so what I can do is tone it back down by some percentage and say OK and OK here, and then I've got a change to her hair that adds significant volume and shape without distorting any of her features or stretching. When you use a Liquify, try to go perpendicular to the hair strands. So like this hair was kind of moving in the left, west, southwest kind of direction. So you want to pull up and a little bit to the left to create the volume. because then it doesn't stretch the hair. That's why the problem I have with doing curls is it tends to stretch the hair and it makes it look unnatural. So just a couple suggestions. Take from it what you want.